Testing.
Good evening. Today is Monday, August 12th, 2024. We are at the Green Ladle and we'll call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. with the Pledge of Allegiance. Counselor Harriman, if you'd like to start our introductions.
Scott Harriman, City Council Representative to the School Committee.
Megan Hurd, Ward 6.
Ashley Medina, Ward 5.
Elizabeth Eames, Ward 3.
Janet Bowden, Ward 2.
Phoenix McLaughlin, Ward 1.
Megan Parks at large.
Jake Langley, Superintendent.
Karen Paquette, Assistant Superintendent.
Our Ward 7 and Ward 4 reps are excused absent this evening. Agenda item number 3 is to receive and potentially vote on the nomination for Deanna Earhart for the assistant principal position for Montello Elementary School. Tiffany will introduce her.
Hi, I'm pleased to have Deanna with us today as the nominee for assistant principal. Deanna comes with years of experience teaching at Lewiston High School and has most recently served as the Dean of Students at the middle school. And those of you who know Deanna know she has a profound love for our community, which is an essential component of being a part of the leadership team at Montello. Actually, during her interview process, she was in between community outreach sessions. She likely knows many of our families already, and we're really eager to see what inspiration and creativity she can bring to our admin team.
Would you like to speak before or after we vote?
I'd like to speak now.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to tell you all that I'm really grateful to be able to have this opportunity to be a part of the Montello family. And I'm just thrilled. I'm just thrilled to be able to work with these littles and start up the school year. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or a motion from committee? Member Bowden?
I'll make the motion to approve Deanna as the vice principal of Montello Elementary.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Congratulations. Agenda item 4 is to receive and potentially vote on the nomination for Sarah Gentle for the special ed assistant principal position at Lewiston High School. Director Crofts will introduce.
Good evening. This is Sarah Gentle. I come to nominate her tonight for an assistant principal job at the high school for special education. She comes to us with a different background, started as a paralegal, had a successful daycare business. She was a photographer, pretty successful photographer. She became an ed tech and decided that her passion was in education. She also has unique life experiences as far as taking care of a foster child with an IEP and a close family member that also has an IEP that she has navigated. She recently became, well, not recently, the last few years, was the day treatment teacher at the high school and took a program that was not doing well and really turned it completely around and has done a wonderful job. She just recently earned her master's in special education, and I believe that she will be a great fit for this position.
Thank you. Would you like to speak now or after we vote?
Sure, I'll speak now.
Okay.
I just wanted to share how grateful I am for the opportunity to serve, Lewiston High School in this capacity. I'm truly dedicated to our special education programs and the success of those. And I just wanted to thank everybody that nominated me for this position tonight.
Thank you. Is there a motion or discussion? Member Bowden?
I'll make the motion to approve Sarah Gentle for the special education assistant principal position at Lewiston High School.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Agenda item number 5 is to receive and potentially vote on the nomination for Kristen Hoynes for the assistant principal position at Lewiston High School, and Principal Radke will present.
Good evening. I'm pleased to nominate and introduce to you Kristen Hoynes. For the past 5 years, she's served as a school designer, leadership coach, and professional development specialist as an independent contractor, as well as for EL Education, where she worked with a portfolio of school districts and individual schools in Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, and Vermont. While working, she also completed her doctorate in educational and organizational leadership at the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, which she received last year, summa cum laude. Dr. Hoynes' work experience also includes curriculum development in literacy, math, science, and social studies, as well as experience designing and implementing programs in individualized learning support and executive functioning. Additionally, Kristen has a deep understanding of and experience with understanding by design and teaching for understanding gained through her work at Harvard. Kristen was a classroom teacher for 15 years as well, and earned both her national board certification as well as her Colorado Master Teacher certification. Prior to entering education, Dr. Hoynes served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Niger, West Africa, focusing on child and maternal health. And then, just because it's interesting, Kristen is also a certified rescue diver and wilderness first responder. Welcome.
That is definitely impressive.
That was quite an introduction. Thank you so very much. I just want to say I'm grateful for the process that I've experienced so far in terms of applying and getting to know folks. And I'm just excited for what a great fit this is and to be able to work so close to home. So super grateful to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Member Bowden?
You sound really overqualified for this, but I love it. I would love to nominate make the motion to approve Kristen Hoynes as the assistant principal of Lewiston High School.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Congratulations. Well done. Agenda item number 6 is to receive and potentially vote on the nomination for Brianna Lunn for the assistant principal position at Farwell Elementary School.
Good evening. I would like to nominate Brianna Lunn, introduce you to Brianna Lunn. She comes to us from Geiger Elementary School, where she has been a classroom teacher for over a decade. She is very active in her own learning, volunteering for numerous committees and signing up to pilot our robust curriculums. The team saw her passion and drive and excitement, and we are very fortunate to have her as a nominee for assistant principal at Farwell.
Thank you.
Thanks. I will speak now. I would just like to thank you for this opportunity. Andrew kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I've been a teacher for 12 years now at Lewiston Public Schools at Geiger Elementary, and I'm really excited for the opportunity to work with a new community of learners at Farwell. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve Brianna Lunn as the assistant principal at Farwell Elementary School.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations. Agenda item 7 is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that members would like set aside? Seeing none, the consent agenda is adopted. Agenda item 8 is public input. Members of the public may address the school committee for up to 3 minutes on non-agenda items now and on agenda items later. Comments that pertain to staff, personnel matters, or a student issue should be directed to the superintendent or the appropriate staff member of Lewiston Public Schools. Public comments shall be directed to the school committee and be brief, not repetitive, and related to the matter at hand. Before starting, please state your name, address, and affiliation to Lewiston Public Schools. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on a non-agenda item? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item number 9 to receive and potentially vote on a field trip request to colleges of the Fenway in Boston, Mass.
Hi, I'm Kate Chase, the aspirations coordinator at Lewiston High School. We have 2 field trips that are out of state that we've planned so far. There's probably going to be one more, but UNH hasn't gotten back to us. The colleges of the Fenway is October 2nd. And we leave early. We'll be back by around 4, I believe. I'm looking at the, probably like 3:30, even better. And they're visiting 5 colleges while they're there. And it's all paid for by our budget.
Any discussion? Would somebody like to make a motion? Member Bowden?
I'll make the motion. No one has anything to say.
No.
I'll make the motion to approve the field trip request to the colleges of the Fenway.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Further discussion?
You've done this before,
Yes.
because that's a lot in one day, and you've done it before and you know it's doable. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Are you also presenting the next one?
Yes.
Agenda item number 10 is to receive and potentially vote on the field trip request to Merrimack and Endicott colleges.
Yes, so we have a lot of students apply to a Merrimack and Endicott every year. We haven't gone to Merrimack recently, but I thought we should visit, and Endicott is always a really big one that the kids love. So we'll be leaving school around 6 and getting back around 4:15. We'll eat at Endicott.
Member Bowden?
Thanks. I'll make the motion to approve this field trip as well to visit Merrimack and Endicott College.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Agenda item 11 is to receive and potentially vote on the recommended adjustment to the teacher evaluation and professional growth program expectations for 24-25.
So those of you who've been on the board know I've been up here before to sort of request some adjustments. In the folder, you guys received some of the handbook and other recommendations that the TPEG committee made. The TPEG committee is made up of teachers, principals, other district administrators. And what we've decided is after 3 years of working on SIOP, it was time for us to sort of fold back in some of those SIOP practices with our original professional practice standards. We have teachers who have never really heard the language of our professional practice standards, and we thought it was a good time to sort of show how the two fit together.
Sorry, can you just tell everyone what SIOP is?
Sure. SIOP is a sheltered instruction observation protocol, and that is the initiative that we've been working on for the last 3 years. It's a lesson planning framework that really supports the needs of language learners in particular and helps with language development in the classroom. So since we've been working on that, the practices align very closely. We just wanted to have one sort of seamless system for observation and feedback. We are not re-implementing where we are using a rubric and giving scores to teachers, because we do have other processes by which we can put educators on improvement plans if necessary. And we've also learned, and the research is clear, that ongoing formative feedback and conversations about instruction are what really helps move the needle on teacher practice, not necessarily ratings. So this is all coming from conversations from the Teacher Evaluation Professional Growth, or TPEG committee. Our recommendations for next year are similar to what they've been, but we'd be folding in those standards together with SIOP. And we're also going to recommend, the committee is also recommending that we have all teachers engage in an active reflection protocol next year as part of their PLCB or their asynchronous work. We have a whole menu of protocols that they can choose from that really help them sort of dig into what is really working well in their practice and what isn't. And so that was another recommendation from the committee, is to sort of engage in that piece so that it can hopefully become part of our ongoing evaluation and observation and feedback process.
Member Eames?
If this is a moment for a question.
Sure.
At the beginning of this, are we talking about both of these, right? These two items?
Yes.
Okay, so in the beginning of this it looks like it's required of everybody, and then later on, down under recommendations, it looks like it's optional, and I was just curious what it is, which it is, or is it both in some different ways for each thing?
So not every educator is expected to implement SIOP practices in their classroom. So our core content teachers,
pretty much all of our teachers, except for clinicians, nurses, OT, PT, individuals for whom it doesn't make sense for their expertise or their general practices. LRTC also was not part of the SIOP implementation. So we're really going to be differentiating some of those feedback forms that we put into our frontline platform so that teachers can receive feedback based on what the expectations are for their instruction.
That totally makes sense. I was just confused. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, it's a lot to kind of boil down to 2 pages.
Member Hurd?
Thank you. Is there a timeline, or it says at least 2 observations? So is that throughout the year? Is that before Christmas break, or is that, you know what I mean? I'm just asking like when
Nope,
those should
that's a
be
good question.
expected. Just so if there are concerns in the classroom, we don't want it to get too far into the year, you know, because we may have students who are dropping behind or falling behind, or they're not learning what they need to be learning. So I'm just wondering when those observations take place.
So those administrators sort of work together as a team and decide who's going to observe which teachers. Sometimes all of them will observe the same teachers over time. It's really up to the buildings to determine how to schedule that out. And we encourage them to set up a plan for how they're going to accomplish this among all the other things that principals and assistant principals are being asked to do. So it's up to them to set that schedule. We have an impetus to sort of track that through our frontline platform. If most of them try to get in the first few months of school, even in the first month or so, even if they're getting in informally to get a sense of how the classroom is going. And what we've asked is that if you have concerns early in the year, get into every classroom you can. And if you have some concerns, then maybe focus some observations in that area to decide if more focused support is needed for that particular educator. Some of our newer teachers need some more focused support, especially in classroom management and some of those other pieces. If there's a concern about a teacher, a certified professional educator, especially those who are on a continuing contract, they need to document that before December 1st, before they can put them on a performance improvement plan. And then they would put them on the actual, it would revert back to well, I guess I'll call the classic system where there would be observations and ratings of their practice to determine next steps. When this has happened, for the most part, individuals have gotten a lot of resources and they've improved, and they're still part of our staff here, or they determine that maybe this isn't the profession for them and they self-select out. Most of the time, individuals take advantage of the resources and make some improvements.
Thank you. So yeah, I think that's great. And again, I know our principals and assistant principals and admins in their schools are very busy. I just hope that we're holding them to some sort of, you know, I know they're busy and I know they have a lot going on, but with as many new teachers as we have, and teachers who may have never taught before, or teachers who are coming in with different certifications, or we're trying to fill certifications, I think it's super important that everybody that's in the classroom teaching students is observed in a timely manner. So again, not that I don't think that they're going to be held to, you know, a deadline or they have to have it done. I just don't want to see it like slip through because there's 100 other fires that they have to put out on the daily. So.
I think every one of our administrators would agree with you 100% on that. Once the sleigh starts rolling down that hill, there are so many other distractions. So we're consistently having conversations about how can you stay on track and stay focused. And they really have a good line on their new teachers, especially when you have conversations. Any number of our administrators can give you a sense of how someone's doing in the classroom at any given time, even if it's just because they pop into 5 or 6 classrooms, just to take a peek and see how it's going and provide a little bit of feedback. Even if it's not documented, they're supervising as best they can, for sure.
Member McLaughlin?
So this is a relatively new topic for me, and I'm still trying to understand the context. So is this evaluation system just for the SIOP component, meaning just for how they're adequately teaching multilingual students? And is there a whole other separate observation and evaluation system for just their overall teaching?
That's a really good question. Yeah. So the last 3 years, so we have a whole set of standards, 5 core propositions from the national board, and then related standards under those different propositions around different areas of practice, whether it's differentiating for students, lesson planning, how they deliver lessons, student engagement, their content knowledge. That was all part of our system that's been in place for probably 12 years now. Yeah, probably close to 12 years now. COVID hit and the state was very quick to say, okay, districts aren't required to do that level of evaluation at this point. We did make a shift when we started implementing SIOP to just focus on SIOP. And that was the first time I was up in front of the board, was to say, hey, can we just give teachers time to learn the shelter and instruction protocol and get some feedback on that without sort of the specter of the rubrics and the ratings that seem to, teachers, we have so many talented educators in here and they always seem to focus on those numbers when really we want them to hear what they're really doing well for our students. So for SIOP, we sort of put that on hold for several years in our adjustment. And now it's time for us to sort of say, okay, so you understand the sheltered instruction protocol. These practices align directly with these standards that have been in place for a long time. So they're sort of melded together. And you can see in that, if you're playing around in the electronic version of that little mini handbook, you can see some of the observation form. So basically evaluators will be asked to go in, and where we've aligned some of those SIOP pieces, they'll say, is it highly evident that this teacher is employing this? Is it evident? Is it somewhat evident? Or is it not applicable for not yet or not applicable? So they're providing that constant feedback about how evident it is that they're keeping these practices sort of at the forefront. We also have created some differentiated forums just around classroom climate and classroom management, because the committee felt very strongly our newer teachers often need lots of feedback in that area before they can even begin to master some of those instructional techniques. So we're really trying to offer lots of opportunities for people to get feedback that will meet their needs and their areas for growth.
So it is it is kind of the broader picture than just the multilingual
Yep,
part.
it's the broader picture. We sort of brought the lens in and now we're bringing the lens back out. All along like LRTC, for example, and those teachers who are not implementing, or those clinicians who are not implementing SIOP, they've been given feedback on the traditional standards that we have. It's just we've sort of, without the ratings, but they've sort of stayed in that sort of lane. Whereas our SIOP teachers have had SIOP, and now we're just bringing it together for those teachers who are implementing SIOP.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Just add to, well, as long as my voice will allow me to. We were pretty intentional about this, the reasons we did SIOP, but also to say, let's not just pile on and add to the plate, but to say, if we're in a pause with TPEG, let's do this well. Let's then let people try it, have coaching on it, support the effort, give them feedback, and then align it so that we're back to where we once were. So it was a very intentional process, and like Sue said, we're 3 years in to that cycle. So this alignment was very intentional so that people could take the time to focus on the strategies we wanted them to use, and then integrate it in their classrooms.
I mean, ideally, the system is a flashlight, not a hammer, and we're always trying to get better at how can we really help individuals? How can we motivate individuals to think very carefully about their practice and seek out resources and improve? Most of our educators are no educator wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to do a crummy job for kids today. So there's some motivation and purpose there already. So we're always trying as an administrative team to get better at that sort of motivation piece, the right questions to ask teachers so they can become more reflective in their practice.
Member Eames, did you still have a question?
Yeah, well, it's just an observation in response to Megan Hurd's question about when. I had in my head December 1st, and then here it is. It says by December 1st, there'll be 2 observations.
In the last paragraph?
Yeah, performance improvement.
That paragraph is designed to sort of say, it's sort of that other avenue. So if I have a concern as an evaluator about a teacher's performance, I need to make sure that I get in there and document at least twice before December 1st.
Exactly.
Any
So that
concern.
answers Megan Hurd's question.
It does. And that's more for that lane of a performance improvement plan.
Yeah.
Very few teachers wind up going on cycle that way.
Mhm.
And again, our probationary teachers operate under the same system. However, whether they stay employed with us or not in their first 2 years is a different decision-making process than a certified professional educator. So while our evaluators definitely employ this and give our new staff lots of feedback, that piece at the bottom is really sort of that language around some of our teachers on continuing contract to say, even though you've been here a while, if there's concerns, we want to make sure we're documenting it.
Member Bowden, did you still have some? No.
Nope, my question's answered.
Member Hurd?
Thank you. It's not actually a question. I think the feedback option for your teachers is a great idea, actually. I feel like probably in any line of work, you feel like you are asked for feedback or some sort of survey or something, and you wonder if it ever actually gets read or if anyone actually, listens to your words or takes what you have to say into account. And I think that that's really important because especially in education right now, we don't want to ever lose anybody. We want to keep as many as we can. So I think listening, giving them an opportunity to kind of share what they're thinking and feeling and what they're seeing every day in the classroom is a huge opportunity for them. And I hope that they take advantage of it. I know some are reluctant sometimes to give feedback. So I hope that they do take advantage and give you true, honest feedback.
Member McLaughlin?
I'm wondering, how do you evaluate the evaluation system? Like, how do you know that this is working well and now you've decided to expand it? Like, how do you know that it's going well and it is what you want to?
So
continue with?
the last few years in our SIAP implementation, at the end of the year, teachers have been doing sort of a self-reflection. And for the last 2 years, they provided us direct feedback on, have the supports been working? What are you feeling that you're really able to implement well in the classroom and not? And that's the type of feedback that the committee looked at and saying, okay, what is it that really makes a difference for teachers? And the teachers on the committee, that's kind of where the conversation started is, what makes a difference for you in improving your feedback? And they fully recognize that whereas students may not, like, achieving that 3 or meeting the standard is where a lot of students land. They all want the 4s in the class, we all do, it's human nature, right? So shifting to this more feedback model, I think they were all agreeing that having those ongoing conversations about their practice and knowing that their evaluator and their principal knows who they are, knows what their skills are. No two teachers are alike in what their skills and talents. Teaching is a science and it's a gift, right? So or an art. So knowing that their principal or their evaluator knows those pieces and how they bring it all together for students, I think is what's most important to them. And again, just working together to figure out what works for teachers and from an evaluator sense, what really motivates individuals to improve anywhere in the organization? What's really our motivation to improve and how do we bring out the best in folks through our conversations?
Thanks.
Any further questions or comments? Do you have more to present?
Nope, that was okay. Yep.
All
Just
right.
the
Well, thank you.
adjustments. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Do we need a motion?
Yes.
We do need a motion.
To approve the adjustments would be what we're looking.
So I would make a motion to approve the adjustments to the teacher evaluation and professional growth program expectations for 24-25.
I'll
Thank you.
second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 12 is to receive and potentially vote on the 24-25 student handbooks.
So I have shared lots of handbooks with all of you in the folder. Just want to refer to policy, it's CHCAA. And the policy states that all first editions or major revisions, there we go, will be approved by the school committee prior to publication. And last year, we worked really hard to get our handbooks in some way, shape, or form looking a little bit better. And this year, I think we've done a better job at doing that. So when thinking about getting approval for some major revisions, I felt it was important to bring those handbooks back to you this year. And Elizabeth has worked closely with me and the policy subcommittee to make sure that things look the way that they should. The biggest change I'll say this year to the handbooks is that all of the summaries of the policies are identical in all of the, or should be, in all of the handbooks. And we do have a couple minor tweaks left, grammatical type things that Elizabeth and I were working on that you may have seen in your versions, but they will be fixed before they go to publication and to be translated for our multilingual family. So I'm asking for approval of the handbooks, knowing that there may be a couple grammatical tweaks, but nothing major that would be concerning, in my opinion.
Member Bowden?
Thank you. So the handbooks are just reflecting all of the updated policies that we've been going through and approving, correct? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Wonderful. I'll make the motion to approve them then if no one else has anything to say.
Would somebody like to second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Oh, Member McLaughlin.
Yeah, sorry. So just maybe this is the same question, but just to be clear, so there's no like substantive update to the content. It's just that the handbook itself has been revised. That's what I'm understanding.
That's correct. So some schools have more information in their handbooks than others based on the way in which they're communicating that information. But policy wise and procedure wise, as it relates to the school committee's oversight, those have been updated to reflect the updates that you have approved up to this far.
All right. Thank you. I just wanted to triple check.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Agenda item 13, to receive and potentially vote on the school committee meeting schedule for 24-25 school year.
So we went through and we looked at holidays and schedule, and I think we're getting back closer to our post-COVID meeting schedule, which I think is a healthy thing. There's a couple of anomalies in here that I wanted to walk through. The first one being October, so the 7th and the 21st. We shifted that date because of Indigenous Peoples Day. November, because of holiday and the election, there's only one meeting date. And I wanted to put that on your radar. I think that reflects the wishes that we heard last year, but I also know that we don't have any heated local elections this year. So if you want the date, it would be the 4th of November. Short of that, we could leave it as the 18th and add one if you'd like, as we get closer. And then we're back to our typical summer schedule where we meet a little less, but we have the personnel meetings we need to do to take care of some things.
Member Bowden?
Yeah, I think I'm fine with the one meeting in November and add if needed. And, you know, you're always adding on Wednesdays for disciplinaries. So I think if need be, if something like that were to arise, then perhaps we could add, you know, a regular agenda in front of it. So I'm fine with this, and I appreciate that there's only one in June, July, and August, respectively. That's I know it never stays that way, but I really appreciate it. So I like this, and yeah.
You appreciate the hope.
Yes, but I'll make the motion, but I know if there's more discussion, go ahead.
Member Eames?
I just wanted to remind everyone that we talked about having a meeting with our legislative delegation, and I didn't see it here. I don't know if there's a way to pre-plan that or whether we should just think about putting it in sometime.
Yeah, I'll make a note to get that scheduled.
Yeah.
What we did last year was we tried to pair it with one of these dates, and I think it didn't fit the legislators. So we picked a Wednesday or maybe it was even a Tuesday, but we will try to do that again. I think this year we want to try to do it earlier than we did last year because I feel like we missed some of the legislative process. So I will make a note of that and we will still do that.
Member Hurd?
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. That was a little out of order, but you got it right. Okay. Agenda item 14 is to discuss and potentially vote on the energy savings via solar array use contract.
So I don't have the contract for you. Legal is reviewing it. We wanted to, but just to put on your radar, and I'll wait till we have a contract to put it on the agenda so you can read through it. But essentially, a year or so ago, we entered into a multi-year contract where the solar array offset with credits our bills to some, but not all of our schools. I think at the time we wanted to explore further what might happen here more locally, like at the landfill, if they did that or changed the substation, which that stuff didn't play out, at least not yet. But we still have a large energy consumer in the high school, which is not currently on a plan. And there's a block that might save us as much as $25,000 a year in electrical if we go with that agreement. But again, it's under review currently, and I'll bring it back to you when we have the actual document. I scrutinize them. I want to make sure there's no surprises.
So you're saying we do not need to vote on this tonight?
Don't need to vote tonight, but I just wanted to keep it on there so it's on your radar that we are looking to further save some funds and use the solar array to our benefit.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? No? Okay. Agenda item 15 is to receive an update on staffing levels and enrollment for the 24-25 school year.
So I'll start backwards and say it's better, staffing much better. And I can share more information as well. So we, and Bill, correct me if I get this wrong, because we did some summarizing today. So certified professionals, so this could be a teacher, could be a school counselor, could be a clinician, anybody under that CPE contract. Right now, there are 43 unfilled. Is that correct, Bill? And the breakdown of that, 20 are special ed across the district. 20 of them are elementary. 7 are middle school. There are 15 at the high school, but that also includes Next Step and other programming. And 1 at the technical center, which I think they have a plan for, but waiting for confirmation. Yeah, Bill will help.
So the summary he gave you, elementary, middle, high school, and LRTC, that did encompass the special ed. So of that 43, 20 are special ed.
Sorry, I actually had that note right beside the
Yeah.
of this 20 are special ed, sorry. And so that's 43 total. And of that 20 special ed. Ed techs, we have a lot of ed techs that are they're still out there unfilled. So we're asking the public, if you want to be an ed tech, let's talk. But 63 still unfilled ed tech positions, and of those 54 are special education. And we also have 11 food service, 11 general government, which could include reception staff, custodians, 6 in management. That covers it pretty much. So that as a comparison, this is, I'd say, less than half of last year's vacancies. So we are, and that's not counting other reductions that were made in the budget process, but it also includes adding positions for the new programs that we're bringing back in-house. So you have a little bit of movement, but just think that we cut vacant positions, we added programming. So this number, and we met with the LEA this afternoon, we're pretty optimistic about this number in comparison to where we were last year. And we still have a couple weeks before school gets going. So.
Member Roden?
Can I just ask specifically, after seeing the personnel agenda for tonight's meeting with all the hires, it was great to see, but I'm a little concerned about Lewiston Middle School. And I was just wondering, where are we at with admin there? Because it looks like we lost a vice principal and we lost a dean. So I just wondered, I didn't see that those positions were refilled. I didn't see transfers. So I just wanted to question like where we're at there.
Yep, great question. So interviews actually happened for the dean today and yesterday. Today, this morning, I'm thinking. And it might have been Friday. I got an update from Amanda. It might have been Friday, and they had more today, this morning. And they believe that they have a lead on a candidate for that. And the AP position has been posted since we got a resignation. And Wednesday makes 10 days. And I always like to wait at least 10 days before we interview folks. So those interviews are looking to be the end of this week. So we are already on a path. Yeah, but we do need those filled.
But you have had applicants? It's kind of last minute for APs to be moving around.
Yeah, we've had applicants, and there's some good interest there. Yeah.
Member Hurd, did you still have a question? Okay, I'll come back to you. Any other questions or comments? Member McLaughlin?
Well, one, can we get that in writing after the meeting? Just the numbers that you shared.
Yeah, I can actually share them with you.
Thank you. The other thing was that mentioned potentially updating on staffing ratios as well. Is that, did I misunderstand that?
So enrollments are so in flux right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna speak to that just, actually, it's a couple items away. Oh, no, it's this one too. Sorry. I thought it was a separate item. So I can mention that as well.
Okay, so yeah,
We don't,
sorry.
we don't have the staffing ratios by school per class just yet, because we're seeing a lot of activity. And I'm actually going back to my number here. So in Power School, we have over 5,700 students, 5,701 actually. But of that, kids who carried over from the June graduation, who just marched last week, they're still in there, and there are some items that need to be cleaned up. It's that time of year when we roll over last year to this year, and our staff are going through to make those final corrections. But students we serve here locally were over 5,100. That doesn't include kids that we send to outplacements. So still a big number, still growing. Good.
Kindergarten and pre-K students continue to enroll, continue to be screened. And the reason they're not necessarily all counted in this number is because until we have all their paperwork and until we have everything with their registration settled, they don't actually roll into the number. They're in the system, but they don't roll into a class. They aren't officially registered. So that 5,100 is a low number because we have lots of kids who still are there. They're just not placed yet.
Do we have a number yet for how many previously outpaced students are being brought back in district this year?
So there's a Kirsten, I actually met with the new climb staff today, and we continue to hire for those positions. And Kirsten and her team have started with students that have been identified through CDS. So those would have been pre-K students that would be coming in as kindergarten students. And there are 14 of those students as of this afternoon at 3 o'clock, I believe, that are they would have been outplaced. We would have paid for them to go elsewhere, but they're going to start their schooling here in Lewiston. So I believe there's 14 there. I believe there's another 5 to 10 students that, as they work through the IEP process to make the transition over, that they will transition over. There is a list of students that Kirsten and her team have. I think that's up to 47 right now, that as we get staffing, as it's the appropriate time for that student to transition, they would be a fit for the program if that's what's decided by the IEP team. So right now, I'd say 20 is a safe number right now.
And that list of up to 47 that potentially could have, has that been communicated to their families yet, or is that going to happen later in the process, or how does that work?
So those decisions can't be made until the IEP team meets and makes the decision about the placement. But any student who is set to start the school year with us, yes, communication with their families has happened.
Thank you. Member Bowden?
Thank you. So along the lines of enrollment, I remember last school year, we ended up having to turn away about 100 students because of vaccinations. And I was just wondering, is there an update on the amount of students? I mean, did they end up getting their vaccinations? Are we bringing them back? Are we still missing those 100 students? Just what's the status on that, please?
So of those 100 students, there was something in the 90s that got it taken care of and actually didn't miss any or much school. There were a few that did not. We did share with a few families that if you have an appointment and it's scheduled and you can get us a note from the doctor saying the shots will be at this point, students were able to come back to school. According to the state, we did run clinics so that many, not all shots were available to students through school if they had parent permission. So we made some efforts, but It's still in place for those who want to attend. But as far as that bigger grouping of kids, I want to say it was within a week almost that most students had that resolved. Some of it was paperwork. Oh, yeah.
Say that on the mic. So we're down under 10 students.
It's a
that-
very small number of kids who didn't return to school. Actually, many kids who got the notice didn't even miss school. They were able to go get it taken care of. The harder part for us, and the reason we were able to get the public health nurse clinics, was because people were having a hard time actually getting an appointment to get the shot. And it was less about shot supply, although there was some of that. It was more about, I should say vaccine supply, not shot supply. It was more about just getting an appointment at a doctor's office with someone who could administer the vaccine. So the public health nurses, I think, are willing to work with us, but initially they were kind of like, we don't really do that. People have to take care of that to be enrolled. But when we told the state that we have 100+ kids that we're going to tell next week that you can't come to school because you're pushing on us, we got a ball rolling with them. So that was helpful. But yeah, it's still in place and people still need to have their records updated and still monitor. The number is very small. I don't think
Thank
it's
you.
10. I think it's more like 5 or 4. We track the numbers pretty closely, so I'd have to go look, but it's a very small number.
Any further member Lawson?
I'm sorry, two more quick ones. Just or maybe just one. How does the vacancy percentage compare to pre-COVID? So like 2019 or something like that. And then also relative to where you want to be. I mean, you'll probably never get 0. So what do you think is a comfortable amount, and are we there yet?
I think any organization our size, if we can mimic the unemployment rate, maybe not today's unemployment rate, but I think if you can get into that 4 to 6% range, that would be, I think, a good operational number. I don't know the numbers compared to pre-COVID. Actually, I think we could look that up. That would be interesting to know as far as rates go. But I think from a fill rate perspective, I remember things being, well, I feel like intuitively that it was more dire prior to COVID as far as shortages than what we're seeing today. And kind of from a believe it or not perspective. I do think though we're seeing different pockets, which to me still leads me in an area of concern. Special education, ed techs, and a lot of good ed techs became teachers or are becoming teachers, which is a plus for kids because they usually really care about the kids to do their own education. But it's that cycle of how do you backfill those areas that are still high need because folks that were in those high need areas went to other areas to fill other high needs. So that's a cycle, but we can look for data, and we should, for our next meeting, have more enrollment breakdown as far as ratios go.
Member Heard?
Thank you. So, no real question per se, I guess, but I'm excited for the climb program. I'm excited to see where that takes us and how that's all going to work out. Now with some things being moved around at McMahon. I guess I had the same concerns as Member Bowden with the amount of assistant principals that we saw. There was some change there. I think we all know consistency is key for our students. So I know exiting professionals don't always give their feedback, but I hope that they would give some feedback about maybe why they decided to go elsewhere. I think that's good information for us to have. The dean at the middle school, I'm very concerned about because I feel like a lot of members pushed hard for that this budget season because Amanda praised how important and how big of a deal that was and what a difference it made in the students' lives. So I just hope that we can find a good fit there, like something that will work at the middle school, because I would hate to see everything that they've done kind of backtrack there. So I'm sure you guys have got it totally taken care of, but I just really am hoping that we find a good fit for that position.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's critically important, and the timing of it being in August is not ideal. But you have to remember that I told all of our principals and directors, don't plan on anything until we have a budget. So things like the dean, that didn't set itself in motion until we had an approved budget as far as would that position even be there. And so the fact that they're making transitions, and we did lose some other staff to, principalships elsewhere, things like that. So it's a plus for them, but it leaves us, looking to build back in that consistency. So I'm with you. Hopefully we can make that happen.
Any further discussion? You're all set? Yep. Okay. Agenda item 16 is to review and potentially vote on the first read for policies A through J. Member Bowden? Or
I was just gonna give an update on the fundraising policy, just because that was a policy that we did have some discussion about. So JJE was the student fundraising activities. And if you remember, Superintendent Langless brought forward the idea that it had been brought to him about the adult only fundraising activity. So when the policy subcommittee looked at this student fundraising activities policy, there was a line that was added at the end of the first paragraph that just states that all fundraising activities will comply with school committee policies and local, state, and federal laws. And the reason for that line, instead of going into more detail about something very specific, we felt as though it would allow us to be covered to make decisions that were based on what was legal at the federal level, what was legal at the state level, and what was the local and the school committee policy level. So that was an update on that one. Did any questions about that one? And I think the only other one, I just wanted to note that the student activity funds and the 2 security camera policy and procedure, those 3 were new policies. They were not revisions. They were new policies to our policy manual.
Member Bowden?
Yeah, I'm comfortable making a motion to approve the first read of the policies listed A through J.
Is there a second? Seconded by Member Hurd. All in favor? It's unanimous. Agenda 17 is to review and potentially vote on the deletion of the following policies listed as A through D.
So I'll just share, I feel like I always have to give this disclaimer with deletions. All but one, I believe, or 2 of them are, they are more of a procedure that doesn't need to be in the policy manual. So they're not necessarily going away. They just don't need to live in the policy manual. And the same with the 2 forms. I believe there's 2 of them that are forms. Same thing. They're not going away. They're still forms that we'll use, but they don't need to live in the policy manual.
Member Bowden?
I'll make the motion again to approve the deletion of the policies listed under subcategory A through D.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Agenda item number 18 is a report from the school committee chair. I attended the governor's opioid summit last week at CMCC, and it was great, as it always is. One of the breakout sessions that I attended was specifically in regards to students and substance use in the state of Maine. And there was a presentation by a young man, I believe he's from South Portland High School, but don't quote me on that. And he's involved in this program called SEED for Maine Youth, SEED. And it's a substance use program that is built around students who have had substance use issues and are in recovery, and they go around the state and talk to students at other schools because it's better received from their peers than it is from adults speaking at them. And I think it's a great program. I'm sure Lisa Escobar was in that also, so I'm sure she's going to follow up with more on that. But I just wanted to share that was an excellent presentation. The young man is in all of their promotional videos, and he spoke to us, and he did a great job. So I was really impressed with that. And the only other thing I have is to do the wheel for the balloon festival drawing. So I'm going to try to figure out how to share my screen so that I can do that. Yes, go ahead.
Just kind of to piggyback off that a little bit, have we ever, or I don't know if it falls under LPS, but offer a site or something for like an AA meeting weekly or something for our students that would be interested in something like that? I don't know how that all works, but I'm just thinking, like, if we have students who are potentially looking to be sober and maybe don't have the means to maybe attend a regular meeting, maybe they don't have transportation or something like that. Has it ever been thought of to offer something like that in the school or at a location or something like that?
Yeah, so we'd be open to that. Lisa does a lot of group work with our teens. Sometimes here or on school grounds, sometimes off school grounds, because kids sometimes prefer that for their own space preferences. So we are doing that work, and I'll preach the same thing Lisa would say, that she strongly believes that we could use a whole team of people at the high school level. And it's not just about the kids that might be using or attempted to use for various reasons. It's the kids who have people who are actively using in their home and they don't want to. That is showing up a lot more than it used to at high numbers. So yes, but with this much resource, and we're trying to leverage some things from the EASE grant to do more of that, but yeah.
I know there was just a conversation last week with an Angels Wing, which is a community substance use agency, about involving Lisa and trying to get a youth group in the evenings at the high school, or trying to get that going for just to have that support, whether it's an affected other because they have a parent or a family member, or because they're experiencing it themselves. So those conversations are happening. So for the balloon flight drawing, we had 138 entries, and I'm not going to read them all. But they're all on this wheel that you can barely even read, and I will just push the button, and that is what's supposed to happen. It'll announce a winner. And there's a delay, a huge delay.
It's spinning smooth on her.
Yeah, it says Sarah Godin is the winner, so congratulations. I will get connected with somebody from City Hall who is doing all of this, and have them get in touch with Sarah, and via email most likely, and go from there to get you your flight details. Congratulations. Two people, yes. Yep. How do I stop sharing now? Ah, that's tiny. Okay, perfect. Agenda item number 19 is report from the superintendent.
I'm sure there's 100 things. For those who didn't hear, I'm not feeling great, so I'm not saying a lot because my voice will fail here soon if I keep talking. There's a lot going on to get ramped up for school. Obviously, we have gone through some steps for closing on 287 Main. We are we just received or are about to receive a grant from Horace Mann Foundation, and we're going to actually use those funds to support the clown program and looking at a specialized swing that they can use that was requested. And when we mentioned that to them for that grant, they said that'd be a great thing to do. So they're going to support that. It's a $5,000 piece of equipment. We did receive, and I'm not sure if I shared this or not, a grant from the Gorman Foundation to support the proactive steps. I know we had mentioned the proactive steps that we might get the grant, but we did in fact get the grant. That was a $345,000 grant to do that work and that innovative work. So we're excited about that. Other than that, it's really getting ramped up for the school year. We think busing will be better. We've talked today with some of the LEA folks about having some preparations and plans for, hot stretches if we have those, what parts of the building are cool, how do we rotate people through, and just being smart about those things. But all in all, it's coming together very quickly. We have a number of projects that are being completed or scheduled or on schedule. Middle school, high school, McMahon has a number of items: roof, fencing, bathroom installation for special programming. Bill could probably rattle off numerous other things that are being done currently. But a lot of good work is getting done, and hopefully won't interrupt school at all, or very little.
I just want to, since you brought up transportation, I've been getting texts. I'm sure every parent has. And I saw that this year there's a couple new things, and it looks like for busing, you have to opt into busing. You don't just automatically get busing.
At the high school level.
Just at the high school level.
That's
okay, because I got that. I'm obviously a high school parent, so I got that text. And the other one that I got was about students at the high school who want to bring their own car to school and drive themselves to school. It sounds like you have to opt into that now and register your car with the main office. And I feel like that's important information to put out there.
Yes.
And I'm just curious what's going to happen on day one when a bunch of students show up who have not registered their car and because they didn't get the text or their parents didn't understand. I mean, what are we going to like what's going to happen there? And one more thing to kind of piggyback off that, and I feel like I ask this every year and I'm going to ask again. Could we please do senior parking spots as a fundraiser for our senior class every year? Oh, you haven't? Oh, I've inquired about this year after year, and I think I usually go straight to the high school to inquire about this, and I always get shut down. But I remember Edward Little High School used to do the senior parking spots. I don't know if they still do, but the kids would show up for a day, they'd pay for their spot for the year, and they'd get to paint it to reflect their character. And I just thought that was such a cool tradition for the seniors to be able to know that even if they show up 1 second before the bell's going off, that they have their spot that they've paid for the year. And it's also a great fundraiser for the for whatever class it is, for their project grad and whatever other stuff that they do. So I kind of want to put that out there, especially if we're getting down to registering cars and like keeping track of which cars are in our lot now. I think that would just be kind of a cool thing to add to it. So I'll let you answer my questions.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point to bring it back up that we are asking high schools to opt in if they're going to use transportation during the year. In part, we have, so many kids attached to the high school, but if they're never going to take a bus, it's good to know so they can adjust their routes accordingly. And that will actually spill into some elementary efficiency because those runs can happen and then move on. So we're looking for an opt-in. Ironically, the high school level, we've never, to my knowledge, had a list of names of who's on what bus for what things. And so kids can kind of, if the bus driver notices that you've never gotten on this bus, they might send you back in to come back with a note or something. But short of that, kids just go. And at the elementary level, we know which kids should be at which buses, and there's like cards that they have and very specific about it. Middle school is more familiar, but still, as kids age, it becomes less familiar. So we're trying to narrow that down so that we can be efficient with need. The parking sticker or tag approach is really, one is about parking and spaces, but others are really about knowing which vehicles are on our campus and whether or not they should be there. So there's some safety provisions too that will help understanding. Also, we've had some things pop up with, someone's doing 45 miles an hour through the campus, at 150 with other kids walking, or 2 o'clock with other kids walking. And we don't know who that car is, and we didn't necessarily get a plate. But if we had a list of, blue, whatever, we could at least narrow it down to say, if we look at a camera, we have a bad image, was that this student? And then you have the opportunity to revoke that privilege. So there's some security and some features around it that we hope to be able to have. To answer your question at the start of year, Principal Radke did share this with me, and I believe he'll follow through. And if he doesn't, let me know. But there'll be a grace period. They'll do announcements, what have you, but they want vehicles registered. And to register your vehicle, you need proof of insurance, you need a current registration, and you need a driver's license. Because the other thing that we had last year, we had numerous students. We actually had some fender benders that we had kids who did not have a license, who might have taken a parent's vehicle without permission, who also didn't have insurance. And now they're on a campus where they shouldn't be. And so we look into, I know you do. I think I know the story, but yeah, so which we try to narrow those things down when we can.
Member Heard.
So I just have to say this because my husband is listening at home, and I'm not going to age myself by telling you how long ago I graduated and my husband graduated high school, but he did email me and said that when he went to EL, his senior class that many years ago, they raised $5,000 by their senior spot. So, I mean, it's a pretty good chunk of change. I don't see why not? Like, let them do it.
Did you have any other updates? Okay. Agenda item number 20 is report from the city council rep.
Not a whole lot to report. We've been on our summer schedule. So our next meeting coming up is on Tuesday, the 20th. And that same evening at 5:30, we're having a workshop with our state legislators, where we can ask questions back and forth. I know some of the topics that came up were around education and around the funding that we receive from the state. Other than that, this Thursday, the 15th at 6 o'clock in City Council chambers, we're having a public input session about the hiring of the new city administrator. So it's really to get feedback from the public about what sort of qualities or qualifications or experience they're looking for a city administrator. And the meeting will be run by Dawn Garish, who is with the consulting group who's helping us out. And again, that's this Thursday, 6 o'clock. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any updates from subcommittees? I don't think any have met. No. Okay. School committee community announcements. Member Heard.
Thank you. So I just want to remind everybody of the summer outreach, the backpack event that Tasha's putting on. It's August 27th from 3 to 22nd. Did I say 22nd? 22nd from 3 to 6 at the store next door. And I know we've talked about it before, but I know like our last meeting, we're a little bit farther out, so we're a little bit closer. So arrive early. The line is usually very, very long. So if you can get there early, it's advised to.
And they'll be doing haircuts at this and everything. It's not just backpacks and supplies. It's the whole thing, getting everybody ready for school. Member McLaughlin.
Yeah, I have one. I've learned recently the Maine Department of Education is holding these conversations around the state about how schools are evaluated. This Measure What Matters event. So the one in this area is going to be at Central Maine Community College, Wednesday, August 21st from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And I don't know a huge amount about it, but well, number one, if you just Google Maine Measure What Matters, you can find the website. I think it's the first thing. And yeah, it's like a community conversation. They're just looking to hear from different folks. I did sign up to go just as a school committee member. I thought it'd be good to hear how it goes. And yeah, it might be an interesting conversation.
Just a quick overlay to that. Essentially, it is the state being very mindful of the very good things that are happening in our communities and our schools for families and for their kids, that the qualitative metrics of the world don't know about or have an interest in from a how you get funded or how other things happen sort of way. So these listening sessions are to figure out what does the community want for their children through the schools, and then how might we measure those things that the community actually wants for outcomes versus a percentage or a letter grade from a formula developed in another area, things of that nature. So could be pretty informative.
Member Bowden.
Thanks. So I just thought I'd put this out there because I'm getting a bunch of reminders from the soccer coach that high school sports or high school fall tryouts start next week. And you do need to be completely signed up on the Family ID website, which Mr. Fuller shares out. I believe it's on the athletics page, but it's also on like the X page or used to be Twitter page for Lewiston Athletics. But you have to have that filled out, and a most recent I cannot, thank you, physical, my brain is not working right now. But all of that starts next week. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Member Eames.
So I went to a senior fair because I'm senior, and among the things that they were giving out was this foster grandparents AmeriCorps seniors information about that. So it's if you're a low-income senior, you can be like an AmeriCorps Vista type volunteer for the schools and get paid. And so I just didn't know if the world knew about that. I hadn't known about it until I found this information. So I thought I would just mention it in this part of the meeting. And the number, should I give a number out? 1-800-215-4942. There's another number, 207-973-3611. So find out more if you're on the in need financially and have some energy for our kids.
Following, similar to what Member McLaughlin mentioned, on August 28th, there's a school board law workshop. I don't know if everybody got the invitation to that or not. I've done it in the past and it's a lot of really helpful information. So if anyone's interested in it and didn't receive the information, let me know and I can forward it to you. It's at 9 in the morning on August 28th.
I'm signed up for that.
Good. Any other community announcements? Member Eames?
I'm going to plug in the LRTC or adult ed, materials. There's the Citizens Police Academy listed, and it is just so great. I don't know if anyone, you've done it. Just, whenever you get the chance to do something like that, it is enlightening. Thanks.
Thank you. Agenda item number 23 is future agenda items. Member Hurd?
Thank you. This isn't necessarily a future agenda item, but I've actually reached out a couple times and I haven't got a response back. When we had talked about Title IV funds, we were talking, one of the things that she kind of headlined is it was about like safety and security somewhat. And I didn't know if it has ever been looked at or if we know of any other districts or even if it's allowed to put for SROs to fall under that title, those funds. I'm just thinking of ways to open up more money in our general fund if possible.
Yeah, so I did look at it, I'll just send back. I don't know of other schools that have done it. From what my read is, it's permissible, but it can't be an existing position. It has to be some kind of additional something, because otherwise it's supplanting.
So we would have to eliminate and then no, or
You'd have to add one. And then it also has to fit in whatever budget exists for Title IV. So you'll get into that same conversation of what do you want to reduce to use that money for that? So, but is it feasible? The answer is yes.
Member Eames?
So there have been questions circulating about street safety in front of LMS, and I just wondered if there has been any discussion or progress on that.
There's a full plan written out, a scope of work, when it will actually be put in. I'm not sure, Bill, I don't know if you have an update. But Public Works has been a good partner in that and
Great.
trying to get that done. Bill and I actually talked about it a little bit this morning because back when I first went to the middle school, we inquired about this and we were told by this highway department or somebody else that it's not something they could do because of the traffic pattern and it's been studied and we're not putting one in. So when I heard that it was possible, I was pretty excited. I think it's needed. That particular road has become a throughway. So.
Sorry. The curriculum committee, I think we need to convene. I don't know when and how we can do it, but there was a time when the proposal for land acknowledgements was sent to the curriculum committee to study, and then Paul lost his election, and so it died. And so I'm wondering if we can somehow get that back onto someone's table. If not, I mean, it should be curriculum committee probably, but I don't know who's on it. I'm on it.
Yeah, I think it's worth a conversation. Those usually are school year because of teacher participation.
Yeah.
Because they have summer off. So
Right, but we haven't
Sue, can
been
you make a-
meeting, and this item isn't the kind of thing you do at a revision of the current curriculum meeting, which I have been going to a lot. But this is something else that the curriculum committee, that it was kicked to us and then we didn't do it. So
Yeah, I remember the
that's
thinking
my-
was to do a little research around it. And
yeah, we were going to do
something back.
research, exactly. And who knows what we'd recommend, but we were going to do some research about it and then never did. So I wanted to put that on the future agenda.
Any other future agenda items? Oh, Member Eames?
I still haven't been getting those PowerPoints. So in your free time, no. Someday, just shoot me and maybe all of us, all those old PowerPoints from, or at least put it on your mind to get them to us as we go this year, if not the old ones. Thanks.
Anything else? Okay. Agenda item number 24 is to adjourn. Is there a motion? Moved by member Bowden, seconded by member Hurd. All in favor?